Welcome to Women Who Kick Glass, the podcast that dives into the fearless women who changed history and the fights that are still shaping our world today. From suffragists to civil rights activists, these women refuse to back down, breaking barriers and demanding change. And now, here's your host, an advocate, a storyteller, and a woman who kicks glass herself, Ann Potenza.
This is it. We're here. This is the last episode of season 1 of Women Who Kick Glass. But don't worry, it's not the end. It's just the beginning. This whole season has been such an inspiration for me, and I hope for you too, in learning about the women who came before us to work hard to get us the rights that we have today, to get us the 19th Amendment and the right to vote. And to know how important it is that our one vote can make a difference. And when we dig into today's episode, you will see for yourself how important one vote is and how it can make all the difference in millions and millions of lives. Today we are going to learn about a mother and a son, Febb E. Byrne and Harry Byrne. Febb E. Byrne, also known as Phoebe, was a woman ahead of her time. She was born in 1873 in Tennessee, but not much is known about her childhood. What we do know is she graduated from U.S. Grant Memorial University, which is now Tennessee Wesleyan. She read voraciously. She read 3 newspapers a day. So I think I can imagine why she would harbor some resentment that society considered her intellect and opinions inferior to a man's. Because as a young woman, Febb did not have the right to vote. After college, she worked as a teacher and she got married. Together as a couple, they ran the family farm and they had 4 children. But into their marriage, her husband James died of typhoid fever and the responsibility fell on Febb's shoulders. So Febb's oldest son, Harry T. Byrne, was the youngest member of the Tennessee State House of Representatives. In 1919, members of the U.S. House of Representatives and the Senate had voted to pass the 19th Amendment, and it was sent to our 48 states for ratification. Now, 3/4 of the states were needed for the amendment to pass, and in the summer of 1920, with 35 states already having voted to ratify it, but 36 needed overall, and several already having rejected it, the deciding vote landed on Tennessee. Now, back then, Tennessee was more of a swing state, so the vote could have gone either way. So it's August 18th, 1920, and the tension in downtown Nashville is palpable. Supporters and opponents of the amendment had set up separate camps at the Hermitage Hotel in Nashville. Early in the day, the Tennessee House members voted twice to table the ratification, and both times it tied 48-48. The only option remaining was to vote on the amendment itself. It was at this time that wearing a yellow rose or a red rose would signify what side of the amendment you were on. If you wore a red rose, you were an anti-suffragist and you did not want the 19th Amendment to pass. If you wore a yellow rose on your lapel or had a yellow rose on your dress, it showed that you were in favor of the 19th Amendment. So as the lawmakers were getting ready to make their final vote, both sides were frantically counting the color of the roses that were on the lapels of the lawmakers. The flower had become the symbol of this cause. And one by one, in a nail-biting session, each member of the House declared his vote until 49, which fell on Harry T. Byrne. At just 24 years old, he was the youngest lawmaker. And when he stood up for his vote, it was hard to miss the red rose on his lapel. Now, Harry represented a very conservative district, and he was under tremendous pressure to vote according to the wishes of his constituents. And these wishes did not include giving women the right to vote. So the suffragists were worried that it was coming down to this last vote. Now, underneath that red rose on that lapel, there was also a letter from Harry's mother, Febb, in his pocket, and it said, "Hurrah and vote for suffrage and don't keep them in doubt. Don't forget to be a good boy and help Mrs. Cat," referring to Carrie Chapman Catt. So it was time to cast the vote, and Harry was the deciding vote. And when he raised his hand and said, "I," it was reported that he dramatically ripped off the red rose on his lapel, and the battle for women's suffrage was over, and he made his mother proud. That one vote decided the fate of the 19th Amendment. When Febb was asked by a reporter what inspired her to write that letter, this is what she said. "Suffrage has interested me for years. I like the suffrage militants as well as the others, but after having read a barrage of bitter anti-speeches published in the papers and realizing that my son's constituents were fiercely in opposition to women's suffrage, I felt compelled to force the issue. So I sat down on my little chair on the front porch and penned a few lines to my son." And when Harry made a statement about his decision in this crucial vote, he said, "I believe in full suffrage as a right. I believe we had a legal and moral right to ratify. I know that a mother's advice is always safest for her boy to follow, and my mother wanted me to vote for ratification." And Febb also told the Tennessee newspaper, "Some of my neighbors, I understand, have said they are sorry for me. But," she added, "I don't need any sympathy. I am proud of my son. He has covered himself with glory." And with that, the legacy of Febb and Harry Byrne are a lasting inspiration to all of us. The relationship between this mother and son changed the course of our lives. Like so many activists and suffragists in history, both forgotten and remembered, Febb Byrne was fearless in her pursuit of what she considered fair. She persisted, and that's noteworthy. Febb's great-great-grandson was interviewed on the 100th anniversary of the 19th Amendment, and this is what he told the newspaper reporter. "She didn't attend any meetings or marches. She wasn't an activist as far as being involved, but she wanted the right to vote. She experienced how unjust it was and saw that she was able to make a difference." And with that, my friends, I thank you so much for joining me on this season of learning and celebrating the suffragists that helped us move forward and helped us in our journey to get the 19th Amendment passed and a women's right to vote as part of our story. And no matter how big or how small we think our actions are, just remember, you count. Your voice counts. Your vote counts. And I hope that you'll join me next season when we discover a whole new group of amazing women who kick glass. I'm Ann Potenza, and until then, keep kicking glass.
Thanks for listening to Women Who Kick Glass. Be sure to follow and subscribe so you never miss an episode. To learn more, contact the show. Visit womenwhokickglass.com. Until next time, keep kicking glass.